Right. So you want me to start from the sickle cell and then we go into the pH?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, basically, the sickle cell is simple, right? Now, a normal red blood cell is very wrong. It has a bicarbonate disc, and it has hemoglobin in it. What happens is that the hemoglobin combines with the oxygen and takes the oxygen around the body. It gives up the oxygen when it gets to the tissues, take the carbon dioxide, bring it back to the lungs. Bring it back to the heart. The heart sends it to the lungs and you breathe out. So this is just the cycle. Now, as I was saying, the red blood cell has a nice round shape. So that helps it to get through the very tiny blood vessels easily without blocking it. Now, in the case of the sickle cell, it has what is we call the crescent moon shape. So it's not wrong. It's not regular wrong. So they tend to clump together and to form clots when they get to the very tiny blood cells. So they block the blood cells and they prevent adequate amount of oxygen from getting to that part of the body. Okay. Now, anything that causes stress, as you know, severe cold or dehydration, whatever the case is.
Chemical smells.
And, right. Anything that causes stress on the body, that put a demand on the body, is asking the body for more oxygen.
Right.
Okay. Anything that put a demand on the body is demanding more oxygen. So if the body cannot meet the demand for oxygen, then what you find, someone who has like sickle cell can make it worse because now the body is asking for oxygen.
Yeah.
And the blood cannot produce the oxygen because of the sickle. So the sickling even get worse.
So when dehydration now creates a problem, is it because there's not enough liquid or fluidity to help carry the oxygen, and then that in turn creates the stress?
Well, actually,
and even can lead to migraines.
Well, actually, the fluid itself doesn't carry the oxygen. The oxygen is being carried by the red blood cells.
But without the red blood cells, they cannot move.
Yeah, because the red blood cells is in the fluid medium.
Right.
So if you're dehydrated and you have inadequate fluid,
there's no transport
inside,
system.
Exactly.
Right.
The fluid is like a transport system.
So the brain will be starved of oxygen.
Yes, most definitely.
So is that why when some people are dehydrated, they get migraines, they get the headache because the oxygen is not reaching the brain?
That can happen because dehydration would affect would affect your supply, your blood supply. And remember, your brain gets a large portion of your cardiac output. Okay, because the brain has to be nourished.
It has to be because it's the central.
Keep you up. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you have insufficient blood supply to your brain, I mean, usually you tend to suffer with dizziness. You tend to get dizzy. You tend to get you get much slower.
Yeah.
And things like that. Okay. So and then with the sickle cell, that's why when you go to the hospital, if you develop a crisis, you go to the hospital. What happens is that they tend to give you a lot of fluid to flush out your system.
No, mention the dizziness. The dizziness.
Well, the dizziness is all to do with the lack of oxygen.
Could this be why myself as a carrier, when I'm in an enclosed room with stagnant air, I pass out within 5 minutes?
That can happen.
If I'm not talking constantly and drawing deep breaths, I pass out. I'm out like a light.
Because it affects the oxygen supply to your brain. So that can happen. In addition to that, if you go on heights very, very high,
altitude.
To tell you altitude where the air is rare, as the people say,
yes,
where you have
low
less
oxygen tension,
right, in the air, that can also happen too.
Yes,
because so.
And when there's low oxygen tension, even like before there's rain or snowstorm, I get terrible migraines. Right, it's almost like I'm carrying the clouds on my head.
Wherever you have that problem.
So I wonder, why does this happen? Is it the clouds? The weight of them is compressing it's causing some imbalance in tension in your brain, affecting your circulation. I don't know, but I get terrible migraines before such weather.
Well, there could be a lot of factors contributing to migraine headaches, because even like because another thing is that like some people, right?
This one they might call tension
certain things that
headaches.
they eat, certain things they eat might cause
numbers affect me.
Right, the blood vessels to
constrict. Right.
Okay, from your things that you eat.
Right.
Now
so why are they constricting? Is it because they want to keep the bad stuff out?
No, well, sometimes it's just your reaction, the way your body reacts to certain chemicals.
A reaction. Okay.
Right. Now, vasoconstriction or blood vessels constriction, in effect, it has the same effect as reducing blood supply to your brain. It has the same effect of reducing oxygen to your brain. The effect would be the same thing.
Right.
It's not a permanent situation. It can be reversed, right? But the effect of, but it has the same effect of reduced blood supply to your brain. It has the same effect, your brain is not getting enough oxygen. It's the same. It has the same effects on the brain.
In essence, that's a crisis, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it can if it's not reversed. It can lead to. As a matter of fact, it can even lead to a stroke if you Yeah, because if your blood vessel is constricted, and there is no blood supply to the brain.
So the brain cells start dying.
Yes, wow. The effect is like a blocked blood vessels. So it's a similar effect.
You might get a headache. That could be a warning. Something's not right.
Right. Well, but usually, it's a warning sign.
But one of the major things, one of the worst things that could happen is that one could get a stroke if a crisis is not reversed.
Right. You have to reverse that. You have to reverse that.
Crisis to eliminate stroke.
I mean, usually with sickle cell, what the problem is in the small blood vessels, and if the small blood vessels get blocked, if it get blocked, the person can have a stroke. I mean, like if you have a blockage in your brain, you can have a stroke. Or if you have a blockage in your heart, in the coronary arteries, you can have what we call a myocardial infarction or heart attack.
Right. So this is why now foods high in antioxidants are highly recommended for people with sickle cell disorders.
Well, yes, because you
bad cholesterol would complicate issues even more.
Right. All of that. It's complex, but it's a complex process, but.
And lots of things need to be eliminated or avoided, and lifestyle.
Because under normal circumstances, you have to get rid of the bad cholesterol, because that have an effect on the blood vessels.
Already, yes.
Right. It has
let alone if you're a carrier.
Right. You know what it does is that it causes the blood vessels. It lines the blood vessels. It makes the lumen smaller with plaque, as you say, right? Make the lumen smaller, so it decreases the blood supply to you. Vital organs.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the case of the as we were talking about your body pH, because your body pH, your cells function in normal. In order for the enzymes to function in your body, you have to have a certain pH, right? That it has to have a certain temperature, right? And so the pH, the temperature. Is in order for your cells to function normally. Okay.
Right. That's why cold can lead to crisis as well.
Right. Anything cold is stress in your body.
Extreme temperatures.
Anything,
that's right. Okay. That's one of the complicators.
So if your body temperature, now if your body pH, if it shifts, whether it become on the acid, if it becomes too low on the acid side, it becomes too high on the alkaline side, any shift could disturb the way the cells function. Okay, right. Now, in people with sickle cell, they're not too concerned about shift to the alkaline side. They're more concerned with shift to the acid side. Right. So, as I was saying, if you have a problem with your lungs, and said your body is retaining carbon dioxide, some lung disease, your lung is not functioning properly, what happened is that the carbon dioxide that your body retains combines with water. The formula I was telling you is CO, carbon dioxide, CO2 plus H2O, that's water, they combine together to form carbonic acid. I think the symbol for carbonic acid is H2CO3. That's the carbonic acid. Now that can break down into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. Okay. Now, if your body is producing too much hydrogen ions, then you have a shift in the pH, so it moves towards the acidic side.
Right.
Okay. Now, this process really takes place in the tissues and the lungs. It's similar. It's just one process takes place in the tissue when the blood is giving oxygen and taking in carbon dioxide, and you have the reverse taking place in the lungs. It's giving up carbon dioxide for you to breathe it out and take in oxygen. So you have to have a balance with that. If it shifts too much to the left, you're in problem, because you become. I mean, I think you heard about that condition called acidosis.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And that is life-threatening with sickle cell.
It would kill you.
Even sickle cell trait.
Right. Well, it's even worse when you have sickle cell, because you're already compromised. You're not supplying your body with oxygen.
Yes.
Enough oxygen. Your body is still metabolizing food, so it's still producing carbon dioxide. So you remember, your body is not being supplied with oxygen, and you continue to produce carbon dioxide.
Yes.
So you know what's going to happen? You're going to combine with water.
Right.
You're going to form carbonic acid.
Right.
You're going to generate hydrogen. You'll be accumulating hydrogen ions. So you have a shift now to the hydrogen side, and in return you're becoming acidotic. So sickle cell people are more prone, they're more susceptible.
And that goes not just people with the full-blown disorder, people who are carriers as well.
Yeah, well, but if you're a carrier, right, if you're a full-blown sickler, you may go into crisis, a sickle cell crisis.
More crisis.
Right. Now, if you are
a
carrier, you would be.
If you have a complicator.
Right. You'll be moving closer to
a crisis.
Right.
So I have understood that sickle cell trait can cause other symptoms to be more severe, and even with like, for example, hay fever. I'm constantly having to eat foods that would help me with my immunity to get through the hay fever season, because it's awful, terrible, absolutely terrible. There's another thing. Antihistamines. I pass out on those. And beta blockers. Could this be because of the sickle trait status that because it slows down your heart rate, doesn't it? These kind of antihistamines.
Antihistamine.
Can that be the reason that my heart rate is being slowed? I need the oxygen. My oxygen is already compromised, and now I've gone and complicated it with slowing down the heart rate. Could this be why I'm passing out with these tablets?
Because definitely, as you know, histamine, it causes your heart rate to slow down, right? Yes, it causes your heart rate to slow down and cause constriction of the bronchioles. Histamine does that. So if you have a situation where your body is compromised, where it's not getting enough oxygen, and your
something
bronchioles,
that slows the heart rate down.
No, but not even slowing the heart, but
really
it's closing
the
up
best
the bronchioles.
treatment. Oh my God! So it's like
it's closing up the bronchioles.
You're using a kill to cure something, or what do you call that? Cure? Or?
Right. It's closing up the bronchioles. Okay. So that means slowing down the heart rate. So it compounds your problem.
Yes.
With the histamine, right? You like people who suffer with asthma.
Even asthma is dangerous.
Right.
Angina. It's life-threatening.
With asthma, you have the bronchioles close up a little, and they have a lot of secretion. So that decrease the movements of air through the lungs and the exchange in the.
Is it the phlegm that decreases the movement of air?
Well, if you have a lot of phlegm, it's like a pipe. If you have extra
congested, unwanted material, unwanted matter,
it decreases the amount of water that can flow to the pipe, or it decreases the amount. In the case of the bronchioles, it decreases the amount of air that can go through.
Yes.
Right? Now, with a sickler, you don't want less oxygen.
Yes.
You want more oxygen. With a sickler, you always want more oxygen.
Yes.
So any condition that decrease your oxygen supply will create problems for you as a sickler.
Yes.
Anything like stress, anything like lung disease, anything like asthma, anything that decrease,
Yes.
that put demands in your body,
Hay fever.
that decrease, you put a demand on your body, and your body wants more oxygen.
Absolutely anything.
Right? Anything.
Right.
You have a compromise in your lungs, where you're suffering with asthma. People who have sickle cell disease, if at the same time they have asthma and they develop a asthma attack,
yeah.
that could send them into a sickle cell crisis too.
Yes, yes.
They
Okay.
all connected.
And anemia in itself, if you're
Anemia,
anemic,
well, anemia
that's
is
a
another,
complicator in itself, isn't
right?
it?
Because anemia is a situation where you already your blood carrying capacity is already
That's right.
compromised.
Then you've got anemia
right,
on top of
because
it.
you have anemia.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have sickle cell.
No, I mean in the situation of a carrier, like someone with trait. Someone with full blown, they're susceptible to the crisis anyway with little stimulation or little motivation. But somebody as a carrier who also has anemia, no one's really doing research and studies about this. I mean, I'm alpha thalassemia trait carrier as well as sickle cell trait carrier. I believe that, and medics believe that my anemia is due to the alpha thalassemia trait. When I have problems and issues, all the medics want to do here in the UK is say there's no complications with sickle cell trait. When it seems that when everyone was qualified, that's it. Never picked up a textbook again. Never punches in or subscribes to recent medical updates and scientific journals, and all you get told is there are no complications with sickle cell trait. And I'm really, really not amused. I'm so grateful for this chat, and I hope we can do that again soon.
All right, my pleasure then.
Thank you.
All right.